Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Hare Krishna. I'm Rajarsi Dasa. Welcome to Hare Krishna today. On today's program, we're going to begin a very interesting discussion between Lord Sri Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna, first of all, has a very interesting question. His question is very pointed. He's asking Lord Krishna, which worship is better? Some people worship God in an impersonal form, not impersonal form, but impersonal manifestation. God is formless, impersonal. And then, as far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, Krishna is speaking about him. He's saying, think of me, become my devotee, worship me. So Arjuna wants to clarify something. He wants to know what is better. But then Krishna proceeds to explain about, he says the devotees, his devotees are better. But then being a devotee, Krishna goes on to say what makes the devotee very dear to him and very, very dear to him. So it's a very interesting chapter, the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, entitled Devotional Service. So we're going to begin by reading Arjuna's question and how Krishna continues to answer Arjuna's question. Arjuna uvacha evam satata yuktaye bhaktastvam paryupasate ye chapi aksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vitamaha. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? There's nothing ambiguous about Krishna's response. Shri Bhagavan uvacha maya veshya manoye mam nitya yukta upasate shradhaya parayopetas teme yukta tamamataha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect. So Krishna goes back now to speak about those engaged in that impersonal discipline. He says, Yetu aksharam nirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate sarvatragam achintyam cha kutastam achalam dhruvam Sanyam yendriya gramam sarvatra samabudhaya te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hiterataha. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, Such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. So they make progress also, and Krishna said, they'll achieve me also, but there's a little problem with that process, as Krishna would point out now. Klesho dhikataraste avyakta satta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukham dehavadbir avapyate. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. So the impersonal process has a lot of impersonal analyzing, analysis, neti, na iti, not this, not that, negating all the elements, realizing Brahman, the undifferentiated. So for personal beings, we are all persons. And to try to communicate and deal with an impersonal aspect is not natural. It is true that the Veda says that the absolute truth is realized in three phases. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattva yaj jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatma iti bhagavan iti shabdite. This is a learned transcendentalist, spiritualist, who know the absolute truth. They know this truth as Brahman, this all-pervading, inconceivable that we speak about, Brahman. Yogis realize this as Paramatma, a four-handed Vishnu form within the heart. And Bhagavan. So Brahmeti Paramatma iti Bhagavan iti Shabdyati. These are the three aspects. Now there's one thing we are speaking about, one absolute truth. But these are different phases of perception. It's compared to the sun. The sun is shining, it's daytime, so you're in your room and the place is bright. It is because of the sun, but you're only perceiving that all-pervasive energy, that light of the sun. But if you go outside, you might be able to perceive that disk from where that sunshine, that sunlight is coming. That perception of that disk is called the Paramatma Fitya. But if you become a perfect yogi, you can go to the sun planet and experience the personality of the sun god, and have a complete experience, a personal experience. So it's different levels of perception of the one truth. Krishna now goes on to speak. He said, but these persons, they at last, they would come to me. Because he said in the 7th chapter, Bahunam Janmanam Anti. After Bahu Janam, many births. When a person becomes Jnanavan, or full of knowledge, many lifetimes you cultivate knowledge, doing all kinds of religious activities, sacrifices, whatever. But he says that then you will come to the point that when you are full of knowledge, Jnanavan, he says, Mam Prapadyanti, then you will surrender unto me, because at this point you understand Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that Krishna Vasudeva is everything. Samahatma Sudurlabha, he says that such great souls are very rare. So Krishna proceeds now to speak about something that is glorious about the devotees who are engaged in his service. He says, Yetu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate teshamaham samudharta mrityu sansara sagara bhavami nachirat partha mayaveshita chetasam. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pritha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So Krishna is saying, that one will take a long time, maybe Bahujana, many births. But the devotee he is describing here, who give up everything to engage, he says, giving up all their activities unto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engage in devotional service, always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me. Kusana Pratap, for them, I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Now this verse is not by itself. Remember, in the 18th chapter, Krishna told Arjuna, I'm going to tell you the most confidential part of all knowledge. Hear this. And he said, Manmana bhava mad bhakto maryajimam namaskuru. That you always engage your mind in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Worship me. You offer your homage unto me. And he said, surely you will come to me. Prati jane priyosine, I promise you that you will come to me. So, as a person, he reciprocates. He says how we will become dear to him. He said, for these persons, I am the swift deliverer. He takes that responsibility. Of course, Srila Prabhupada, if you study his purport, he quotes many verses saying, he quotes one from the Varaha Puran. Nayami paramam sthanam archir adigatim vina garuda skandam arupya yathecham anivaritaha. The purport of this verse is that a devotee does not need to practice Astanga Yoga in order to transfer his soul to the spiritual planets. The responsibility is taken by the Supreme Lord himself. He clearly states here that he himself becomes the deliverer. Then he quotes another one. Yavai sadhana sampati purusharta chatushtayi taya vinatad apnoti naro narayanashraya. The purport of this verse is that one should not engage in the different processes of fruitive activity or cultivate knowledge by the mental speculative process. One who is devoted to the personality of Godhead can attain all the benefits derived from other yogic processes, speculation, ritual, sacrifice, charities, etc. That is the specific benediction of devotional service. So when Krishna concludes the Gita by saying, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Sarva Dharman, there are many religious processes of religiosity, many processes. But when Krishna says, give them up, and Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja, you just surrender unto me only. And Aham Twang Sarvapap, I'll free you from all sin. Ma Shucha, don't worry, don't fear. A person should develop faith. If a person has faith in what the Lord is saying, then his business is easily, his purpose is served. But remember, Krishna is the Father of all souls. There are people in so many different positions. So Krishna, being very merciful, because not everyone is willing or prepared to be fully devoted to Him. So just see how merciful God is as the Supreme Father. So although He is saying what is the best thing, or what He wants, but then He is so merciful. He said, well, okay, if you can't do that, then do this. And if you can't do this, then do this. It's amazing how He goes on in this chapter to explain, well, everyone, you can get on the path and you can progress. Come closer to me. Let us look at what He says is the highest thing, and then how He goes down lower. This is text 8. Mai eva mana adhatsva mai buddhim niveshaya nivasishyasi mai eva ata urdhvam na samshaya. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. Now this is the highest thing that Lord Krishna is prescribing. He's recommending. But mind you, this is perfection. To just absorb one's mind in Krishna like that. That's not easy. That's the perfection. That's what he's describing. Mayeva mana adhaksva, may buddhim niveshaya, nivasishyasya atayeva ata urdhvam na samshaya. He's saying there's no doubt. You will be situated in me all the time. But then, how many people can do that? So then, Krishna gives his other process. He says, Athachitam samadhatum na shaknoshi mai stiram abhyasa yogena tato mami chaptum dhananjaya. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. This is more like what we are doing. Yes. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness, founded by Srila Prabhupada, is founded on this principle. He establishes all over the world in centers the opportunity and the facility for doing this. Krishna said, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. Now remember that first person That's a natural, that's a spontaneous person. I'm in Vrindavan, India. Maybe I'll grab some footage where you will see some people. They look like they are on that spontaneous platform. I think I'll pick up some footage of someone. He may look like a beggar out on the street, but for years I've been to Vrindavan, and he has an instrument and he just melodiously sings the glories of the Lord. He's not the type of that is looking who has come now, who has thrown some rupee for me, how much he... No, this person just absorbed. And I don't know if he leaves that spot at night. And the place is very austere, it's very cold, but he's always there. Amazing. What we are saying is that first process is a natural, it's a spontaneous process. But Krishna is saying, if you are not on that platform, practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. So, that process involves waking up in the early morning, taking a shower, then a person would come for worship. In our temples we have Mangal Arti. Mangala means auspicious. 4:30 in the morning, a couple hours before the sunrise, it's called Brahma Muhurta, a spiritual moment. When whatever spiritual activities is done, it has great spiritual benefit. The door is open, communication with the Supreme. In this period, special. So in this period, Mangalarti, jap means regulated practice. The chanting of japa, this is following the regulative principles of bhakti. Yes, japa, following regulative principles. Scripture is saying, always, the Lord is saying, always think of me. But we may not be on that level to always do that. So we have a vow, we take a vow, at least for the rest of my life I'll chant, at least I'll meditate on the holy names, I'll chant 16 rounds a day. It takes a couple hours, but we have 24 hours in a day. So we take a vow for the rest of our life that we would do at least this. Yes, this is one practice. Regulative principles mean we would cook, we would offer food to the Lord, we would offer artik, regulated worship to the Lord in His manifestation as the archa, the murti form. Bhagavad Shravana, we would hear the descriptions of the glories of the Supreme Lord as described in the scriptures. Bhagavad. We would take prasad, remnants of food offered to God. These, Krishna is saying, they will help a person to come to that topmost level. Yes, they would help a person to come to that level. So Krishna in this verse is saying again, my dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot just fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. So this is a process that we follow, that it's called sadhana bhakti. Sadhana is the means, sadhya is the goal. But this sadhana, it's a daily discipline. It's also called Vaidhi Bhakti. Vaidhi means rules, Vidhi. So when you follow different rules and regulations, it curbs the tendency for sense gratification or the unregulated life of doing what you want. Vaidhi, we regulate and then we adopt these spiritual practices, these disciplines. Now it is compared to that these regulations, they bring you in course of time to the spontaneous level that's called raga bhakti. Long time the cars, it may be cold, battery or whatever it's called, it won't go. So then there's what you call a kickstart. Some people would push and then you kickstart and then it will go on its own. It will come to the normal condition. We in this conditioned state, by following the rules and regulations, it actually brings us to that state where we become spontaneous. We become naturally attracted to the Supreme Lord. Actually, there are 9 levels that we will discuss later on, that we progress through to come to this perfectional stage. So it's interesting that Krishna is merciful, how he gives. Okay, this is the perfect stage, but you're not there. Well, do like this, follow these regulations. But that's not all. Not everybody could do this. So in our following program, we'll discuss what Krishna is saying next, what you can do next. I'm Rajarsi Dasa saying Hare Krishna, and do join us again next week for a continuing presentation.
Hare